Hello, everyone, and welcome to Makai-World Reviews. Who is the host of this show? Well, it's me, the Tony Makai, master of minds and of men. Who else would it be? And this is episode 70 of this illustrious program. Today we finish up what I've been calling my Lovecraft adjacent style movies. I've had a fairly mixed bag, nothing horrendous thus far, but a mixed bag nonetheless. Was becoming something of a depressing catchphrase of mine, mixed bag. Well, today will we end on an up or down swing? I suppose I'm here to decide that. Today we look at a 2020 film called Sacrifice. Let's go ahead and get into it. Before we begin, you know this routine. Please like, please subscribe. I'm a smaller channel, very, very small, but I have the potential for growth. So give me a chance, hit that button, and add me to the 20 million subscribed channels that you don't listen to anyways. So what the hell do you care? Sacrifice, directed by Andy Collier and Tor Main. Tor Mian? No, I'm not sure. Who also wrote the screenplay. It's based on a short story, but I'll talk about that later. Both of these gentlemen worked on a movie called Charismata, which I did not see, but it has, for lack of a better term, mixed to negative results. If I like this, I might check that out. This is based on a short story called The Men of the Cloth by Paul Kane, found in his anthology book, The Color of Madness. I've also not read this, but I'm always looking for new Lovecraftian horror, so I may give it a shot. I'm sorry, usually I know more about the people in the movies I've seen. This one is just hyper indie, and these people haven't done anything. Starring Sophie Stevens, she was in The Haunted, which I hated, and Doctors, a British medical procedural. Probably skip that one. And Luvaka Hughes, no idea who that is. Cool ass name, though. Release date was October 22nd, 2020. What came out the same week? Cadaver. Largely forgettable Norwegian horror that is totally and unquestionably predictable, forgettable, and mostly boring. And The Witches, or Ronald Dahl's The Witches. Do I need to talk about this one? Do I? A remake of the 1990 film that was fairly traumatizing people in my generation. Wasn't a particularly good film originally, and let me say, this captured none of that charm nor horror and was a mess. At best, a mess. An example of Hollywood absolutely having no idea what people want to see, and, the woke crowd even got mad at it for whatever various things they get mad about. And to the plots. Oh boy, the plots. The Pickmans, obviously named after Richard Upton Pickman, from, of course, Lovecraft's Pickman's Model. Fun little story that has nothing to do with any of this generic shadow over Innsmouth crap we get here. That is, Isaac and Emma Pickman head to a vaguely Norwegian island. They say that, but it could be anywhere. I don't know what makes this like Norwegian. They just like Scandinavia because it seems somehow exotic. I'll get into that. Well, Emma is pregnant, and wouldn't you know, this tiny town is run by a cult. And the cops are in on it. Who would have thunk it? Well, of course, this causes nightmares and all manner of fish-related chicanery, as Alex slowly succumbs to the cult and to madness. In the resulting insanity, he tries to kill Emma, where in the end, he is killed by the cult, and she's preserved for reasons, I suppose, to mercifully end the film. This movie stunk to high heaven. I can't do a pros cons. I don't have enough pros for it. Let's go over the things that I have to say about it. So my biggest complaint, and I guess I'll get this out of the way first, is it's generic to a degree that bored the sin out of me. It was the standard, bog standard, dare I say, Lovecraftian crap. Bad dreams, fish monster concepts, cult stuff we've been seeing since at least the 70s in film and the 20s in Lovecraft. In this kind of like Lovecraft-inspired film, they do this all the time. It did nothing to add to it. It did nothing to expand. It did nothing, but just gave us the most basic, fucking tepid movie that I've seen in a long time. And I saw some middling to positive reviews for this on horror movie sites, and like, this is what's wrong with the horror movie genre. It allows for less than mediocre to pass. It allows this level of like just complacent filmmaking to slip through. I know horror movies lack good or original or damn near even decent ideas half the time, but I'd rather take an ambitious film that fails totally on all levels than a mediocre one that has no soul. This was that through and through. It's not bad, because bad would imply that I had stronger feelings about it than I did. Bad would imply that there was something to give a shit about. This was boring. It was yawn-inducing. Expanding on that, it looked cheap. Now, I know it was low budget, but every film I looked at this month was low budget, and all of them tried to do something with what they had. The Void did well with its limited space. Starfish more so than that, with less sets even. And even Black Mountainside, while I complained I didn't buy what they were going for with the cabins, at least attempted to make the film look like it was something more than it was. There was an effort. I could applaud it in some fashion, and I did. This less so than that, and it might have been had a better budget than some of those films. It might have, but it was a cheap movie. Everything was so bland looking. Even the horror scenes were just, we've seen this a billion times, a billion, and they looked bad. Expanding on this a little bit, everyone felt empty. Nothing was lived. The town was just there. It felt like sets. Nothing had any texture or depth or meaning. It was just, here are places where things happen. Then they happen. Then the end. The acting was mediocre. Isaac and the head cult lady were particularly egregious. He overacted and underacted at the same time. And I hate the fake drunk thing. Why can't people be drunk? If you want an actor to be drunk, I don't know, get them drunk. Or watch them be drunk. His drunk was so bad it came off as stupid. It was I'm talking totally normal, but I'm slurring my words. The rest of it was generic guy goes crazy, and he didn't do that very well. Emma was fine as scared woman, which is a trope I have become tired of, but it is what it is. The rest of it was lightly scared pregnant woman. She really knocking it out of the park with these peak performances. Cult lady sucked. I don't have anything else to say about her, and everyone else was totally forgettable. I'm already sick of the Scandinavian, Norwegian, Swedish evil, because it sounds kind of foreign bullshit that Midsummer gave us. I don't like that movie, and I'll talk about that eventually. It's a hill I'll die on. It was garbage. These are not some crazy exotic lands. It feels very much like when the British would write about Africa as some strange dark continent, stuff like no one lived there with, Alan Quatermain stories and stuff. But we've moved on to Scandinavia type areas for this, the Great White Isles or something, I don't know. I do like Scandinavian detective shows and horror. I'd recommend Troll Hunter for a horror type movie. It's a lot better than it has any right to be. And if you want some detective shows, let me know. Scandinavian, I'll recommend them. The chess set they use, really briefly, was cool. They had like Cthulhu pieces. Overall, this movie highlights the problems I have with this genre, much the same way Starfish exemplified my excitement for it. It took the ideas of Mr. Lovecraft and just shelled over them in the blandest way possible onto paper, made people pretend that they cared about it, had nothing. People who wrote and directed this did not understand Lovecraft's work, not in the slightest. They used it for pallid, fucking generic, churned out crap like this. And it wasn't new. This isn't a new problem. This is an old problem. People read this work and instead of going, oh man, to see the universe, to see the world with this kind of vision, this kind of horror and majesty, it's amazing. What can I see? What can my characters see? What do I dare let them? What do I dare tap into in my own primal existence? And what am I afraid of? No, they go fish and cult? That's scary. People have bad dreams. Bad dreams scary. That's it. They don't understand why this stuff is scary in the context of the stories. They don't get why using these things was scary for him. What they meant in his life. Lovecraft used his horror, his fear, his life, and put them on the page. If you want to do the same, you have to expose some of your soul. You have to come clean in your writing because this ain't fucking it. And if it is, if what you saw here today inspired you, scared you, moved you, and I guess that's a good thing, but to be frank, there's no accounting for the tastes of others, and I hate you for it. Skip this, hard skip, watch Starfish. Well, that was sacrifice, and it was a sacrifice for me to watch it. My time, my energy, my life to get through this boring film. What do you think of my review? Do you dislike this film, or do you really dislike it? Let me know down below. Go to my Patreon and let me know what you want me to review. Pay for it and I'll do it, since I have to. I don't give a shit. Also hit up my Instagram under Demon Peaks, where I do daily Twin Peaks memes, and don't forget to check out my podcast, the Dark Peaks Podcast. Me and the gentleman talk about smoking crack rock. Next month, I keep the theme months alive at least to see how they do. I do Harry Dean Stanton month, and I start off with a doozy in Escape from New York. This has been Makai, Master of Minds and Men, and goodbye.